My wife faked a pregnancy to trap me, then blamed me when the truth came out. When my wife surprised me with a positive pregnancy test, I thought it was the happiest moment of my life. I cried. I planned. I promised to be the best father I could be. But months later, the truth hit like a sledgehammer. There was no baby. There never was. And somehow, she made it all my fault. It all began on a gray, rainy Tuesday morning. One of those days where everything feels slow and uneventful. I had just gotten off a 12-hour night shift at the hospital and was trudging into the kitchen, barely able to keep my eyes open. My wife, Clara, was already awake, unusually chipper for someone who typically slept in. She stood at the kitchen table, clutching something in her hand. "Hey, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice trembling just enough to make me look up. Before I could ask what was going on, she turned the object in her hand toward me. It was a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. "We're having a baby," she whispered. Her eyes were wide, watery. She looked nervous, excited, scared all at once. For a moment, I didn't say a word. I just stared. The night shift exhaustion evaporated instantly. All I could think was, I'm going to be a dad. We weren't in a good place back then. Our marriage was shaky at best. Arguments had become routine. Little resentments had built up like dust in the corners of a room we never cleaned. We'd even discussed taking a break, maybe even separating. But in that moment, all of it vanished. I rushed to her, pulling her into a tight hug. She sobbed into my shoulder, and I started crying too. Not out of fear, but out of joy, out of relief. I thought, this is it. This is our turning point. This baby is going to bring us back together. For the next few days, we floated. I cooked breakfast for her every morning. I made a spreadsheet of baby items we'd need. We discussed names. Aiden if it was a boy, Emma if it was a girl. She even started taking prenatal vitamins and wore baggy sweaters like she was already starting to show. Clara began declining drinks at dinners with friends. She made small complaints about morning sickness and food cravings. She downloaded a baby tracker app on her phone and showed me updates like, it's the size of a blueberry this week. But it wasn't long before I started noticing little things. The first red flag was the appointments. I offered to go with her to her first doctor's visit. She said it was just a urine test and that she didn't want me wasting time sitting in a waiting room. Okay, fair enough. But then it happened again and again. Every OB/GYN appointment she claimed to have ended up canceled, rescheduled, or moved to a different clinic. She told me the doctors were being overly cautious and that it was nothing to worry about. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. After all, who lies about something like this? I started working overtime so we could afford everything the baby needed. I took out a loan to start converting the second bedroom into a nursery. I gave up a major promotion, one that would have meant longer hours but triple the pay, because Clara said, you want to be around more when the baby comes. But still, something didn't feel right. She never showed me any sonograms, no prenatal documents, no heartbeat recordings, just her word. I remember asking her once, gently, hey, when do we get to hear the heartbeat? She got defensive fast. God, can you stop interrogating me? Don't you trust me? Why are you making this about you when I'm the one carrying the child? That shut me up. I felt guilty. I thought maybe I was overthinking. I told myself I was stressed and that I should just let it go. But I couldn't. Not entirely. Then, one night while she was asleep, I was searching for my charger in her purse. She always took mine, and that's when I found it. A receipt. It was from a pharmacy a few towns over, dated 2 days after she had announced her pregnancy. Item listed, 1 pregnancy test. I stared at that receipt for a long time. My hands were shaking. My brain started spiraling. Why would she buy a test after she already showed me a positive one? Was the first one fake? Was the second one backup? Was it part of some plan? I didn't confront her right away. I didn't know how to. All I knew was that something wasn't adding up, and the woman I had trusted, had committed my life to, might be hiding something far more sinister than I ever imagined. After finding the receipt, I couldn't sleep. My mind was a storm of possibilities, each more disturbing than the last. I tried to dismiss it. Maybe she just wanted a second opinion. Maybe the first test expired. But the more I rationalized, the more I realized I was trying to protect myself from a truth I didn't want to face. The next morning, Clara noticed something was off. I was quieter than usual, distant. She asked if I was stressed from work. I nodded and smiled, pretending everything was fine. But inside, I'd already shifted. I started paying attention, closely. When she claimed she had a doctor's appointment, I pretended to leave for work, but circled back around the block and parked 2 houses down. I waited for over an hour. She never left the house. When I came back and pretending I forgot my badge, she acted like she had just gotten home. Strike one. A week later, I asked about the baby's progress. How far along are we now? I asked casually. 9 weeks, she answered. But I remembered her saying it had been 9 weeks 2 weeks ago. I kept my expression neutral, but my heart was racing. Strike two. Then came strike three, the one I couldn't ignore. Clara left her laptop open while taking a shower. She was logged into her email. I know snooping is wrong, but at that point I was desperate. I typed pregnancy into the search bar. There were no appointment confirmations, no lab results, nothing from any OB/GYN offices. What I did find, though, were online forum posts under an anonymous username. Has anyone ever faked a pregnancy to save their marriage? Did it work? Tips on convincing someone you're pregnant without a real test. How to fake sonograms. Asking for a friend. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a mistake. This was a lie. A calculated, manipulative lie. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling physically sick. My mind raced back to every moment I'd felt overjoyed, every nursery plan, every time I kissed her belly or called her mama. All of it had been built on a fantasy. And then came the worst realization of all. She hadn't just lied to keep me around. She had trapped me. She knew I was on the verge of walking away from our marriage. She had seen the signs, felt the distance. And in her mind, a baby was the glue, the ultimate handcuff. And it had worked. Until now. That night, I couldn't keep it in. I waited until we were both sitting in the living room, her scrolling through her phone, me pretending to watch TV. My hands were sweaty, my voice shaky. I know you're not pregnant, Clara. She froze, looked up slowly. What are you talking about? I saw the receipt, I said. I know you bought the test after you told me you were already pregnant. I know you've never been to a single doctor's appointment. I saw your forum posts. Her face didn't crumble like I expected. She didn't cry or confess. She went stone cold. You went through my things, she said, her voice low and sharp. That's what you care about? That I snooped? Not that you lied to me about something this massive. She stood up, arms crossed. I can't believe you don't trust me. After everything I've been through trying to make this marriage work. I was stunned. She was turning it on me. You lied to me, Clara. You made me give up a promotion, rearrange our entire lives, pour thousands into a nursery for a baby that doesn't exist. And whose fault is that? She snapped. If you hadn't been pulling away, I wouldn't have had to do anything to save us. You forced me to do this. I was speechless. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't remorseful. She was blaming me for her deception. I didn't force you to fake a pregnancy, I said quietly. That was your choice. Your manipulation. She turned and walked out of the room, slamming the bedroom door behind her. And there I was, standing in the wreckage of our marriage, realizing that everything I'd been building, every sacrifice, every hope, was based on a lie so deep, it made me question whether I had ever truly known the woman I married. The house felt different after that night. Heavier, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Clara avoided me for 2 full days. No apology. No explanation. She stayed locked in the bedroom while I slept on the couch, consumed by anger and disbelief. Every sound from upstairs, her footsteps, a drawer opening, the low hum of her voice on the phone, put me on edge. I thought about leaving. I even packed a bag. But then I'd stare at the nursery, the soft yellow walls, the little giraffe print onesies still folded on the shelf, the tiny crib we had assembled together one Sunday afternoon. A cruel, visual monument to a baby that never existed. I had been mourning someone who was never even real. On the 3rd day, Clara finally emerged. She looked composed. Too composed. Her hair was brushed, makeup done, wearing that cool, detached look that meant she was about to say something calculated. We need to talk, she said. I crossed my arms. Now you want to talk? She sighed dramatically, as if I were the one being unreasonable. I made a mistake. Okay? But everything I did because I love you. I laughed bitterly. You love me. So you tricked me into thinking you were carrying my child? She stepped closer. You were going to leave me, weren't you? You had one foot out the door. I didn't answer, and that was answer enough. I saw the way you looked at me, she went on. You barely touched me anymore. You were cold, distant, and I knew if I didn't do something drastic, I was going to lose you. So you decided to lie, I said, shaking my head. Instead of asking me why I was pulling away or trying to fix things honestly, you created a fake life to tie me down. You didn't save the marriage, Clara. You killed what was left of it. And that's when she snapped. The guilt vanished from her face, replaced with fury. You're unbelievable, she spat. You think you're some innocent victim? You've been shutting me out for months. You've been emotionally checked out, always glued to work, making me feel invisible. And now I'm the villain for trying to fix it. I didn't ask you to fix anything, especially not with a lie. You should be thanking me, she shouted. I gave you purpose. I made you excited to come home again. You smile more. You were happy. I was stunned. I was happy because I thought I was going to be a father. She scoffed. You wouldn't have been a good one anyway. You're too selfish. That hit me like a punch to the chest. She stormed past me, slamming the front door as she left. That night, I called my sister. I hadn't told anyone up until then, partly out of shame, partly out of denial. But I couldn't carry it alone anymore. When I told her everything, from the fake test to the confrontation, she was silent for a long time. Then she said, you need to protect yourself, legally. This kind of manipulation, it's not just emotional abuse. It's next level. She was right. Clara hadn't just betrayed my trust. She had altered my life trajectory. I had turned down a career opportunity in another city, signed a mortgage on a bigger house, and rerouted my entire future based on this child. A child she fabricated. Over the next week, Clara tried to rewrite the narrative. She told her friends and family I had abandoned her during a traumatic miscarriage. Suddenly, I was the heartless husband who couldn't handle grief. She weaponized sympathy like a pro. I started getting texts from mutual friends. Heard about what happened, man. So sorry. But walking out like that? Not cool. She turned her lie into my shame. I finally confronted her, asking how far she was willing to take this. You're playing with fire, I warned. What happens when people start asking for proof? What happens when someone actually wants to support you through this loss? She shrugged. They won't. People believe what they want to believe. And right now, they want to believe I'm the victim. She was right. No one questioned her version of events. The emotional image of a woman suffering from a miscarriage is powerful and sacred. To challenge, it makes you seem cruel, no matter how true your reasons are. I was stuck in a nightmare where telling the truth made me the villain. Eventually, I had no choice. I contacted a lawyer. I filed for separation. I even printed out screenshots of her forum posts, emails, and inconsistencies in her story. I didn't care if it got ugly. I just wanted out. When she was served with the papers, she broke. For the first time since this all began, I saw real fear in her eyes. You're going to ruin me, she whispered. No, I said quietly. You already did that yourself. I wish I could say that filing for separation was the beginning of my freedom. I wish I could say the worst was behind me once I walked out that front door. But that was just the calm before the storm. Clara wasn't done. Not by a long shot. A few days after she was served the papers, I started getting calls from unknown numbers. At first, I ignored them. Then came the voicemails, messages full of venom, all from people I barely knew or hadn't spoken to in years. Unbelievable, man. I used to respect you. How could you leave Clara like that, after everything? You're a heartless coward. She lost her baby, and you bailed? What kind of monster are you? It became clear Clara had taken her lies public. She had posted her story all over social media, an emotionally charged essay about grief, betrayal, and abandonment. She even included photos of a nursery, screenshots of our text during the fake pregnancy, and a long caption painting herself as the brave, devastated wife whose selfish husband ran away. Thousands of likes, hundreds of comments. The sympathy was overwhelming, and the hate for me, that poured in like wildfire. I was being crucified for a crime I didn't commit. Even people close to me started asking questions. My own cousin messaged me, unsure of what to believe. Did something happen to the baby? Clara seems broken, man. I wanted to scream. I wanted to post the truth, every cold, hard, painful detail. But how do you explain to the world that someone faked a pregnancy? It sounded insane. I knew how this game worked. If I pushed back too hard, I'd just look defensive, like I was gaslighting a grieving woman. And Clara knew it too. She was counting on it. What I didn't expect, though, was how far she'd take it. One evening, I came home from work and found a note taped to my apartment door. No envelope, just a single sheet of paper in Clara's handwriting. You destroyed our family, and now you'll pay. 2 days later, my HR department called me in. Apparently, an anonymous complaint had been filed against me, alleging I was unstable and had made threatening comments to a pregnant coworker. It was baseless. There was no pregnant coworker, but the damage was done. HR had to do a full investigation. Word started to spread around the office. People looked at me differently, like I was dangerous. Clara had escalated from emotional warfare to character assassination. I kept my head down, documented everything, and updated my lawyer. Still, there were nights I lay awake, wondering if the next blow would be worse. Would she fake injuries next? File a restraining order? Plant evidence? This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was psychological terrorism. The worst part? I still loved her once. There was a time when I would have done anything for her. And now, she was actively trying to destroy me. Not because she was grieving, not because she was confused, but because she needed to be the victim. And I had refused to play the villain she scripted. At one point, I got a message from one of her close friends, someone I'd always gotten along with. She wrote, "Hey, I don't know what's going on between you two, and I'm not taking sides. But I just want you to know Clara's unraveling. She's been lying to everyone, not just you. There's a lot she isn't telling people." It was the first glimmer of hope I'd had in weeks. I asked her to clarify, and after some hesitation, she sent a voice note. She admitted to me that she never went to any OB/GYN. She never had a sonogram. She bought a fake test off some shady website. She's not well. I think she needs help, but she's not getting it. I saved the message and sent it straight to my lawyer. It was the first piece of outside validation I'd received, something that could finally shift the tide. And yet, despite everything, part of me still felt guilty. Isn't that twisted? I had done nothing wrong, and yet Clara's manipulation had made me question my own sanity, my own memory, my own moral compass. That's the thing about emotional abuse. It's not always loud. It doesn't always come with bruises or yelling. Sometimes it comes with soft smiles, whispered lies, and a perfectly curated Facebook post. But I was done playing along. It was time to fight back, not with vengeance, but with truth. After weeks of chaos, doubt, and social exile, I finally had something real. Clara's friend's voice message confirming what I had known all along. She never saw a doctor. She never had a sonogram. It was all a lie, from the very first positive test to the heartbreak story she fed the world. My lawyer took the voice note and advised me to stay patient. Let the truth come out slowly. The worst thing you can do right now is react emotionally. You need to build credibility brick by brick. So I did. I documented everything. I pulled records showing Clara never went to prenatal appointments. I printed out chats, collected screenshots, anything I could find that painted the full picture. I even wrote a personal timeline, detailing each red flag I'd ignored. With my lawyer's help, we began preparing a statement, not for the court of law, but the court of public opinion. The moment came when Clara tried to escalate again. One Monday morning, I received a letter from a family law attorney. Clara was attempting to sue me for emotional damages related to the loss of our child. She wanted money, a public apology, and access to my assets, claiming we had planned a family together. It was absurd. There was no child, no medical record, no proof. But her goal wasn't to win. It was to keep me on the defensive, to scare me into silence, to make me look like a monster in the eyes of anyone watching. That's when my lawyer said, "It's time." We released the truth. It wasn't a flashy social media post. I wrote a calm, detailed, emotionally honest letter. I addressed the situation respectfully. I explained the facts, provided supporting documents, and attached the audio file of Clara's friend admitting the pregnancy was fabricated. We didn't tag Clara. We didn't shame her. We just told the truth. At first, there was silence. Then came a shock. People messaged me privately. Some apologized. Others were simply stunned. A few of Clara's closest defenders deleted their comments. One even reposted my letter, adding, "Sometimes the story we hear isn't the whole story." I don't think Clara expected me to fight back. She thought I'd crumble under guilt, shame, and silence. But when people started seeing the receipts, literal and emotional, they couldn't deny what had happened. Some still defended her. Some claimed she must have really believed she was pregnant. Others said she needed help, not judgment. I didn't argue. I wasn't looking for revenge. I just wanted my name back. Meanwhile, Clara's social media went quiet. Completely dark. No new posts. No replies. A few weeks later, I heard she moved back in with her parents and deleted most of her online presence. Her friends began to distance themselves. One of them told me Clara had confessed to not knowing why she did it, that she felt me slipping away and panicked, that she thought a baby would fix everything, that she didn't mean for it to go this far. But she never apologized. Not to me. Not directly. And that hurt more than anything. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability, closure, maybe even a tiny shred of remorse. I never got it. But what I did get, slowly, painfully, was my peace. I started therapy. I talked through everything I'd bottled up, the betrayal, the gaslighting, the isolation. I rebuilt friendships that had frayed under the weight of Clara's lies. I reconnected with family who'd been hesitant to choose sides, but now saw the truth for what it was. Most importantly, I learned something about myself, that even in the darkest chapter of my life, I didn't become bitter. I didn't let her lies turn me into someone I wasn't. Clara tried to trap me, with guilt, with shame, with the illusion of a future that never existed. But I escaped, not because I fought harder, but because I stood in the truth, even when it was lonely, even when it hurt. That's how I won. Not in a courtroom, not in a comment section, but in the quiet moments after, when I could finally look in the mirror again and know I survived her. And I'm never going back.